This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
The world of medicine, where every decision can change lives, your peace of mind is crucial. This is where Pattern steps in. Imagine insurance made simple, fast, and personalized just for you. With Pattern, you're not just getting disability and life insurance, you're ensuring your future and protecting your greatest asset, your income. In the past 10 years, Pattern has transformed the way over 20,000 doctors secure their financial well-being. Discover the simplicity of securing your future at patternlife.com or click the link in the description.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and today's conversation is all about unleashing your personal power. And with that, I've got a fantastic guest for you, Constantin. He's an entrepreneur. He talks about transformation through vulnerability, spirituality, technology. All in all, it's going to be a fantastic fireside discussion about personal development and cultivating resilience. So, Constantin, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. Beautiful introduction. And I'm so happy to be here having a conversation with you and your beautiful audience.
Yeah, I love your energy, and set the stage, talk about your background and how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Absolutely, we'd love to. So I was born in Eastern Europe. And why that's important is because I was born during a time when the Communist Party was still in power. And while I was still young, while that happened for the first 7 years, a lot of the imprints in my early life at a subconscious level were from that type of era, an era of scarcity, an era of fear, an era of people not having much, right? And anyway, when I was 17, I moved to Canada. So the land of opportunity, like the US, right? North America. My parents wanted us to move here so we can have a better future. And of course, we did as a result. Went to school, did all the right things, so to speak, to achieve the American dream. Let's call it the Canadian dream in this case, right? Go to school, get a good degree, get a good job, have the wife, the house, everything you need. But then, despite all of the success, external success, I wasn't feeling fulfilled at my heart level. I wasn't feeling joyful. In fact, I was actually depressed for a very long time. And that got me wondering for many, many years. It's like, what's missing? I mean, I've chased what everyone else told me success would be. People see me as successful. People see me as someone that's figured stuff out. But on the inside, I don't feel that. So for me, there was something missing. And I began this quest of, let's call it a personal transformation, a spiritual awakening, to truly understand who Constantin is below the indoctrination, below all the teachings of society and guardians and all those people that only had their best interest at heart, but yet weren't allowing the true me to shine.
Fascinating, because I can resonate certainly with your story. My parents, first generation immigrants, wanted me and my brother to become doctors, live through their children, and so I check all the check marks. I feel I was a good kid, didn't talk, all this nonsense. And then I get there at Pinnacle, and it's like, what the hell did I just do? I wasted 20 something years of my life. So is it the same as you, or what was missing?
I love that you shared that because we resonate 100%. The only difference I would say for me is I wouldn't consider it necessarily wasted. I look back at my life and I'm like, well, of everything that I've learned, or I've gone through rather, is an opportunity for me to learn.
Mm.
And there were many lessons in my life I didn't take, right? Like most of us, we go through life, something happens and we put it in the closet because it's too painful to look, or it might be perceived a certain way that we don't agree with initially. But what I've started doing as I've gone on this journey, it forced me, instead of seeking answers externally, which I was really good at, like reading books, getting mentors, all that, to actually seek answers internally. And what I have found is that you and everyone else listening, we all have the answers within. We just are not very good at listening initially, and no one teaches us how to listen. And that's what I have been doing for the last 3 years. And I can go back and I'll be like, oh, I see why my parents wanted me to follow in their footsteps and be an engineer, because both of them are engineers. So I went down that path, like very similar to you, a doctor, right? So it's like all they wanted is for us to have the life they never had and to have a better chance at a better future. That's all. And it's all coming out of love. Oh. And when I started to understand that, I'm like, okay, now I can put things in perspectives and bring lessons into my current situation.
I love that. I love how you take you remove the malintent. It was not to harm you, it's to help you. And there's certain good things that came out of doing all of that. So interesting. I like how you reframed it. So talking about vulnerability and growing up, especially in my family, you had to have everything. You had to have the appearance of everything together, but you talk about embracing your vulnerabilities, leading to significant personal, professional growth. And how has this shaped your approach as a mentor and coach?
That's a great question, Chris. I love it so much. And I'm with you 100% again. Like the environment I grew up in was all about making sure that on the outside you appear to have everything together, like you're the perfect family or the perfect kid, whatever the case might be. And for us, being in a communist society, so to speak, it was frowned upon to be different or to be against the system or to whatever the case might be, right? If you were different, that was a problem.
Yeah.
So then the way you were raised was to fit in society, to fit in the model or the system itself. So for me, that was common to have those expectations put on me, despite being a child that was fairly rebellious, meaning I would challenge the status quo, because if something didn't make sense to me, I was like, why am I doing it? And that's how I've led most of my life. And I had these conflicts. It's like, how do I do this? Now, what did that allow to come up? Allowed, let's call it vulnerability or authenticity, like the real Constantin to show up at times, because when I would challenge something and I would be true from my heart, that would be authentic. But to be authentic, that means you need to first open yourself up, and that's vulnerability, meaning being open and sharing your journey and sharing your experience and putting it all on the table and be like, this is me. If it's at my soccer club or if it's at work or if it's at home, that's me. Well, that wasn't the case for me most of my life because of what you described as well. I was someone that built different personas because I had this fear of rejection, fear of not fitting in, fear of being seen different. And I would have a persona, let's call it, my close family, that was the real me. But then in my professional life, I couldn't necessarily be the joker as much. So I had a different persona. And then when I was with different groups of people, I always adjusted because I wanted to fit in, and I would make assumptions like, oh, if I do this, I won't fit in. But if I do that, I will.
Yeah.
And that doesn't allow for vulnerability and authenticity, right? Because how can you be authentic in 5, 6, 7 different personas, or with 5, 6 different personas?
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting, and very similar is like I got so sick of putting on these masks that I would just be like feel more comfortable just being on my own, doing my own thing, and that way I didn't have to like fight to try and fit in and get people to like me, and it was very exhausting, So
Yes.
So talk about, a lot of these people are starting their journey of self-discovery, personal development. How can what strategies where they start? How can they identify, leverage intrinsic strengths and passions? Where can they start?
Yeah, I love the question, Chris. So what I've done over the last 3 years, especially as more people in my life kept coming to me and say, hey, Constantin, how have you transformed as fast as you have? What were some of the big catalysts for you? And as I looked back at my life, I identified, I want to say, 3 different distinct areas that if someone were to implement in their life, they would see fast transformations as well. And I built a system around it, which is essentially the cornerstone for my coaching and mentorship. So for me, it all starts with a solid foundation. Now, all of us, I would imagine, anyone that's a high achiever for sure, will have a foundation that's fairly solid because you had to excel at something to be a high achiever. And most people listening to your show will be in that category. However, because of the society we grew up in, how things were, there are also various challenges that we've been faced in life that we haven't been equipped to deal with. And that put weaker blocks within our foundation. So what's a foundation for me? Foundation is essentially your psychology, your thoughts and beliefs about yourself, others, and the world. And mindset comes on top of that, which is where a lot of people focus initially, but then they wonder why it doesn't stick. Like you may look back, and I looked at this, it's like, oh, I read all the books on weight loss. I know exactly how to lose weight, and I'll do it good for 3 months, and then I self-sabotage. And I always wonder, why does it happen? And it always came back to my foundation. Is my foundation solid enough? And in my case, it wasn't. And in the case of everyone I've been able to help so far, the foundation has some solid backbone to it, but not enough to withstand the storms of life. So for me, it all starts with that. So it's like, how do you see yourself, how you see others in the world? And that's about reframing. Like I gave you an example earlier. So it's how do you look at things happening for you versus things happening to you? How do you get to rewire your brain? So if you don't agree with a thought or a belief, for example, one I had is, I'm not good enough, or I'm too busy. Well, I know that's not true, or I rather know that's not something I want to entertain. How do I change that? And as you start to build the foundation, you now start to build on top of it, or let's say rebuild the foundation. And the next 2 parts that were critical for me were about identifying my why. In other words, what's my purpose in this life? What makes my heart smile? What would I do every day without getting paid for the rest of my life? And as I sat down and identified that, more things came up, my gifts and my strengths. So my gifts are essentially what I came into this life with. You can call it from a spiritual point of view. You can say, well, we came into this life with a set of gifts that are unique to you. That's what makes us unique. And then the strengths are what you've built over the years because of your vocation, because of your environment, whatever the case might be. And doubling down on those will get you more results faster than anything else you do in life. And there's a lot of research out there that talks about how people that focus on their weaknesses do not progress at anywhere close to the same rate as someone that focuses on their gifts and strengths. And as you have those 3 pillars rock solid, it's all about crafting a vision for your life that you want and then implementing it. And that's essentially my system. It sounds easy on paper, but it does require a lot of going in and asking questions, because how do you find your why? Well, you're not going to find it externally. You got to go in. How are you going to find your gifts and strengths? You got to go in. How are you going to build a solid foundation? Well, it's your foundation. So you have to go inwards. And there's lots of exercises and things people can do, but that's where I would start.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of this is, especially, one thing that I really admire, especially in today, because we're living in very rapidly changing times, and especially the younger generation, they know that the old models are not working. So, but then we have this dilemma where we have most of our physical needs met, but we're looking for these like spiritual needs. And so kind of talk about with in the digital age, how do people cultivate resilience, especially with technology? Is it disjointed between spiritual practices? Just how do people just navigate this, this crazy environment, all this war and everything?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question there, Chris. And it's definitely a very important one to discuss these days, because it's so easy to turn on the news or pick up your phone and look at social media, and all you see is the negative stuff. And it fascinated me because psychology was always one of my passions, and especially neuroscience. And what I have found is, and this is common knowledge, is that we all have innately built within us something called a negativity bias. And that's for evolutionary reasons. To keep us alive, we need to allow the negativity to hit us first so we can get out of the way of a lion or a moving car or whatever the case might be. Now, if that's built within us and that's our default mechanism, that means that someone that doesn't necessarily have our best interest at heart, so someone wanting to sell me something, for example, could manipulate that to their advantage or my disadvantage. So now if you look at social media, if you look at the news, if you look at how technology is being used right now, there's a lot of manipulation happening. And you don't even have to look at anything political, just look at what's being sold to you. And almost everything is a distraction. So that means you now have to become aware, well, is this something that's aiding me or is this something that's distracting me? So for me, when I start to work with someone, that's one of the first things we look at. Look at your life and let's take a look and see what your habits are. Like, what are they built on? Like, if you finish work, what do you do next? Do you go meditate? Do you go for a walk? Or do you jump straight onto Netflix or a computer game, which was, by the way, me for a long time, because I wanted to escape, so to speak, reality, all the negativity, and jump on something that would take me far away from that.
Yeah.
So to me, half the battle is always awareness. If you start to become aware of what's working against you, so let's say Mother Nature, which is your negativity bias, then you can start taking control and getting power back and doing something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very powerful, very to closely monitor your thoughts and your emotions and asking yourself, is this serving you or is it, and especially one's interpretations of just kind of reframing how you perceive things is really key. So, especially with navigating change, we mentioned reading all the self-help books, going on to all these seminars, but really this role of mentorship, and you emphasize that's the fastest way to get the results you want is to find a mentor. And share a story how a mentor impacted your journey, what qualities should be people looking for, and why mentorship is so important.
Absolutely. And when it comes to having someone in your corner, that's what I see the value of mentorship and coaching. And there's a saying that goes something like this, is like, you cannot see the forest for the trees. So as I'm on my own journey, as I'm going through this, I only know what I know. And I have my own biases and I have my own perceptions. And I may think I'm going down a path that I should be going on. And what a mentor or a coach comes in is, they are not going to be biased towards agreeing with you all the time or disagreeing with you. They are there to help you grow. Now, even if you pay or don't pay for them, it doesn't matter. And the way I see it is that with my mentors and coaches, and I have plenty in my life right now, even though I am one myself, I couldn't be what I am today without the help of all these magnificent people. And it's about them pointing out my own limiting beliefs, which I thought I was over, or pointing out my own biases, or pointing out, let's say, conflicting information I'm sharing, where I'm like, well, I'm talking about something, but I'm not applying it into my own life because at the subconscious level, I think I am, but I'm not. Now, I have countless examples in my life. It started first in my professional life, where as I was climbing the corporate ladder, I would always navigate towards people that were a few steps ahead of me, and I would just go and ask for advice. And not all advice necessarily was applicable to me, but a lot of it was. And it's a matter of like looking at it and being, okay, so I can take a piece of this and I can take a piece of this and make something of it. Now, if you don't have a mentor or a coach, then where are you going to get your advice from? Well, you might go on social media, you might read, like you said, the self-help books. But how many of us have read, millions of self-help books and all the books, and yet we've done nothing with them? Because we don't necessarily have the accountability, right? We don't necessarily have someone to guide us on the path. And that's how I see a mentor and a coach, is someone that guides you, someone that inspires you, and someone that empowers you on this journey, right? And again, in my life, if you look at it right now, in my professional life and personal life, I have a spiritual mentor, I have a physical health mentor and coach, I have a business coach, and I'm part of a couple of masterminds where the other like-minded individuals. And all of these people are mentors. And then I have the non-paid mentors as well. And all of them have immense value. Like, I came off a conversation with a friend of mine that also acts as a mentor, and I had so many light bulb moments go off because they help you become aware of things you are not aware of. Because you may know this, Chris, but at the subconscious, let me backtrack. When you take an action, right? Your actions start at the thought and belief level. So there's a thought and belief that triggers a feeling or an emotion that then triggers an action and triggers an outcome. Now, a lot of your thoughts and beliefs, about 95% of them they're showing in research right now, are done at the subconscious level. Only 5% of the conscious level. So that means 95% of the things you do every day, think and do, are not fully things that you control. And unless you build a system in which you can start becoming aware and making choices around that. So if that's the case, you can quickly see how we essentially use old software, like whatever programs got built in or belief system got built in when I was 5 years old and then 7 and then 14 is what my computer, my hardware, my body is going to use to make decisions on my behalf. A mentor or a coach is someone that hopefully will help you see those old softwares and challenge you and say, hey, is that benefiting you? Could you change that a bit? And then the power is back in your hands to make a change.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Really powerful, especially even what I loved about the greats like Kobe and Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, they always sought outside counsel to, even though they were the best, they were always looking for that edge. And, that's with the power of mentorship. And even the top CEOs, they have mentors to help them see what they can't see.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the only thing I was going to add there is I'll be honest, my ego did not support me in seeking proper mentorship and coaching for a long time in my life, especially as I was climbing the corporate ladder. I'll have my mentors and coaches, but then I'll be like, you know what? I'm so good, in quotation marks. Why do I need more people in my corner? And there was such a false belief that was keeping me small, because is when I opened up to allowing more mentors and coaches is when everything shifted for the better in my life. Because all these new perspectives coming in, again, you don't have to agree with everything or even most of it, but at least you get new perspectives and you take control back in your life. You take power back in your life and can do changes.
Yeah. How can people contact you and follow you and check out your work and work with you?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. The best way, if you want on a professional level to find me and work with me, LinkedIn, of course, Constantin with no E, Morun. My podcast, Unleash Thyself, where we talk about essentially the stuff I talk about now, which is about rewiring your brain, personal development, spirituality, and any social media platforms. And if you want to send me an email directly, it's constantin@unleashthyself.com. I'm always happy to chat with people about anything that they're going through, because what lights me up, Chris, is following my heart, which is all about inspiring and empowering people on this journey in life. That's it. And then if I can do that, then I'm the happiest man.
Yeah, I love that. And your energy shows. And for all the audience out there, give Constantin a like and follow on his socials and reach out to him for coaching. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
Doctors dedicate their lives to caring for others. It's time someone took care of you. Visit patternlife.com to simplify your path to peace of mind. Patternlife.com, simplifying your insurance journey.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislumdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.